G'day, my name's Alan Gamble. Welcome to another episode of Aussie Box Office Charts. Weekend 22 for 2026. We have horror tearing up the charts, so let's dive in. Opening at number 1 is an unexpected thing for me, but apparently a lot of people saw it coming. Backrooms opens at number 1 with $5.5 million. That is a phenomenal horror opening in Australia. It is the biggest horror opening since 2023 with Five Nights at Freddy's that opened to around $6.9 million. Phenomenal opening, and as well as taking the top spot for this weekend, it also knocked number 2, Star Wars, The Mandalorian and Grogu, down to second spot after just a single week. That brought in $3.1 million in its second week, dropping 51% for a current total of $10.7 million. Now, The Mandalorian and Grogu, a Star Wars movie getting knocked off top spot after a week, you would think that's rare, but it actually happened back with Solo in 2018 with Deadpool 2 taking back the top spot after a single week because Solo underperformed quite significantly as well. In number 3, we have Obsession moving up with bringing in $3 million in its third week of release, gaining plus 87% in its third week of release, after increasing its total by 101% last week. Movies don't typically go up as the weeks go on with how much they bring in. They normally drop off because more people have already seen them and they don't want to see it again. Obsession is doing crazy word of mouth. That is insane numbers. It's got a current total of just over $7 million, and it is a surprise summer hit that I did not see coming. At number 4, we have Michael with another $2.5 million. Its 6th week in release, dropping 15% for a current total of $40.5 million. We'll be looking more at that number after the top 10, and rounding out the top 5 is The Devil Wears Prada 2 with another $1.7 million. Its 5th week in release, dropping 31% for a current total of $38.6 million. Also, really good numbers, but not quite as good as Michael. Moving on to 6 through 10, we have The Sheep Detectives moving down to number 6. I went and caught that on the weekend, and it was a delightfully lovely movie. Really nice, really clever, well written. It brought in $980,000 in its 4th week of release, dropping just 9%. Now, we would be talking a lot more about The Sheep Detectives holding really, really well if it wasn't for Obsession that's holding to an insane degree. It's got a current total of $6.5 million. At number 7, we have Mortal Kombat 2 with another $186,000. Its 4th week in release, dropping 55% for a current total of $4.6 million. Passenger spends another week in the top 10 with $185,000, dropping 65% in its 2nd week of release for a current total of $850,000. At number 9, we have the Super Mario Galaxy movie with $181,000 in its 9th week of release, dropping just 2% for a current total of $39.1 million. And then rounding out the top 10, we have Project Hail Mary with $134,000, its 11th week in the top 10, dropping 30% for a current total of $38.9 million. So first, let's update Michael's race to be the highest music biopic of all time against the number 1 currently, Bohemian Rhapsody. After 6 weeks of release, this is how the race looks. Michael does have a handy lead, but it still has a ways to go. Bohemian Rhapsody now was moving into January, and this is where it actually started to really take off, to end up at around a total of $55 million. We'll see if Michael can get there. It's comfortably in the front, and to put it in context, here are all the music totals of all the music biopics that have released in the Australian market. So this was their total domestic gross that they brought in through their entire run, right down from the low end where you have The Runaways and I Can Only Imagine 2 and The Moment, 2 of those releasing in 2026. You've got things like Shine and Straight Outta Compton and 8 Mile. Your top 3 are Elvis back in 2022 that ended up with $33.5 million. Michael has beaten that one. It is currently at $40.5 million and it needs to make another $15 million to beat Bohemian Rhapsody's 2018 $55.3 million. And even if we adjust for inflation, Michael still does have the crown as the second highest music biopic of all time. It has passed Funny Girl's adjusted total of $38.2 million that released back in 1969. It's past Elvis and 8 Mile and Walk the Line. The only thing it has to catch is Bohemian Rhapsody. Adjusted for inflation, it's got a significant margin to catch up, but it might not be catching the inflated gross, but it might be able to run down the just standard total of 55.3. Might not, I don't think it's going to get to $70 million. Moving on to the top 10 for 2026, so the top 10 of everything released in calendar year 2026. We have quite a few changes this week. Michael has moved to the top spot with its $40.5 million. It leapfrogged over both the Super Mario Galaxy movie at $39.1 million and Project Hail Mary at $38.9 million. Obviously, those two movies neck and neck, but Michael did get the jump on them. Devil Wears Prada is chasing them right down, though, not to be left behind at $38.6 million at position number 4. Wuthering Heights stays at number 5 with its $20.3 million, and Song Sung Blue stays at number 6 with its $12.2 million. Goat at number 7 with $11.9 million, and a new entry into the chart is Star Wars The Mandalorian and Grogu that enters the chart at number 8 with $10.7 million. That obviously knocks down the Magic Faraway Tree with its $10.3 million to number 9. Hopper's down to number 10 with its $9.8 million. And something new coming into the chart means something goes out, and Marty Supreme is out of the 2026 top 10 at the Australian box office. Moving on to upcoming releases, 4th of June, we have some big ones coming out. First up is Masters of the Universe, the latest big 80s revival of He-Man, directed by Travis Knight, who's actually done a lot of great movies. Now, I have no interest in seeing it because I was not a He-Man kid growing up, but Travis Knight has done good movies, like real good movies. So if I hear positive buzz and good word of mouth, I may end up catching Masters of the Universe. It's starring Nicholas Galzatine, Camila Mendes, and Alison Brie. We also have The Christophers, a new crime comedy from director Steven Soderbergh. I'll be waiting to see if there's any AI slop issues with this one, since Soderbergh has shown to be drinking all of that Kool-Aid. This one is starring Michaela Cole, Ian McKellen, and Jessica Gunning. We also have Scary Movie 6, or Scary Movie as it's sometimes being branded. This is another one of my box office predictions, along with Star Wars The Mandalorian and Grogu, so we'll see how this one does. It's directed by Michael Tittles, with a lot of the old writers coming back from the original Scary Movies. So if you like the originals, this one might be for you. It's starring all of the Waynes, many of them, along with Anna Faris. In limited release, so check your local and smaller indie cinemas, we have The Amazing Digital Circus, The Last Act, a new special with a theatrical screening of episodes 8 and the final hour-long episode 9. So if you're into that franchise, catch your finale on the big screen. We also have Petty, a new Telugu language action drama out of India. Moving across to streaming releases, we have Office Romance, a new rom-com from director Ol Parker. It stars Jennifer Lopez and Brett Goldstein and can be found on Netflix on June 5th. We also had Alice and Steve, a new comedy drama series on Disney Plus on June 8th. It's created by Sophie Goodhart and starring Nicola Walker and Jermaine Clement. We also have Cape Fear, a new adaptation of the original created by Nick Antosha and starring Javier Bardem, Amy Adams and Patrick Wilson, and can be found on Apple TV on June 5th. In returning series, we have The Legend of Vox Machina returning. I'm up to date with this one. It's returning for its season 4 on Amazon Prime on June 3rd. We also have Interview with a Vampire, another series I love and fully up to date with, although some places have this down as a new series called The Vampire Lestat, rather than Interview with a Vampire Season 3. So, mixed messages around this one. Look for both of them wherever you do on AMC Plus on June 8th, if that is your cup of tea. If you haven't seen it, it is actually genuinely an awesome vampire show. We also have, in a very unexpected way, Race Around the World returning. The documentary ABC series from 1997 and 98, it's returning for its season 3 in 2026. It can be found on June 7th on ABC iView, where 10 contestants will produce new films every 10 days as they travel around the world, and it's hosted by John Safran as a judge along with several other decent local filmmakers. So, 5 movies for this week's challenge of inspired origins, so let's dive in. First up was Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind from 1984, directed by Hayao Miyazaki and based on the manga series of the same name, starring Shumi Shimamoto, Ichiro Nagai, and Goro Naya. While I've never been hugely into Miyazaki's work as others have, I have slowly been checking some out over the last few years, and I've got to say, this one was actually really my jam. The post-society collapse, the warring clans, still fighting, the lost era nuclear technology was wild. Maybe if I watched this one when I was younger, I'd be more of a fan. I thought this was a really great movie. Next up was my cinema trip for the weekend with The Sheep Detectives, directed by Kyle Balder, and based on the novel by Leonie Swan, starring Hugh Jackman, Emma Thompson, Nicholas Galzatine, and Molly Gordon, giving us a delightful detective noir, but with sheep in a small crime town story. This movie was far better than it had any right to be. Clever, funny, well written, really well paced, well performed, with great casting. Not something I was planning on watching either, but I just kept hearing good things around it, and it matched the challenge theme, and it kept overperforming at the box office. So I decided to see what the fuss was about, and yeah, it's a real 2026 gem. Following that, with another 2026 release of the Super Mario Galaxy movie, directed by Aaron Horvath and Michael Jelenic, and starring Chris Pratt, Anya Taylor-Joy, Charlie Day, Jack Black, and a massive side cast. Taking us on a journey of Mario and friends having adventures in the Mario Galaxy universe, traveling far and wide, and this was really not good. Like, I was fairly mid on the original, and this one was worse in all the ways that I already didn't like about the original. Yes, there are a few things on screen that might make you go, ooh, neat, that was cool, but it's one of the worst movies of 2026 I've seen so far. Sometimes a movie has nothing more to it than a series of scenes and events taking place, and that's it. No real character or story outside the vaguest semblance of a plot. Like, it was bare bones in the terms of just nothing happening. Moving on then was Blue from 2003, directed by Hiroshi Ando and starring Mikako Ichikawa and Manami Konishi, while being based on the manga of the same name, telling a very simple, small story of a queer coming-of-age story in a small oceanside town in Japan. While the story has been done before and it was fine enough, it's a bit rough around the edges due to the inexperience of the director and possibly the low budget. But that said, it was still a decent story with some good vibes. Granted, it does feel a little bit dated since it was made back in 2003. Finally was a rewatch of 1994's Street Fighter, directed by Stephen E. D'Souza and starring Jean-Claude Van Damme, Raul Julia, Kylie Minogue, and Ming-Na Wen, telling the story of an evil warlord that's trying to ransom off hostages to the UN, only to be challenged by a group of warriors who want to take him down. Yeah, this one was just as bad as I remember it being. No clue why they made this the story for the Street Fighter movie, but it's terrible from start to finish and across the board, from writing to effects. But unlike Super Mario, Street Fighter walked the line of being entertainingly bad at least. I could have a laugh at some things, and, you know, it didn't feel as bad. And I had also forgotten that Street Fighter was the original. For me, it was just a Tuesday villain trope, which was incredible to see considering I forgot where that actually came from because it's been used so many places since then. This week's challenge is a tricky one with the Beatles. So we've got a few Beatles options there, including George Harrison founded Handmade Films. So we could look at their filmography if we wanted to see the things like Time Bandits and With Nail and I and Nuns on the Run. But it's a bit of a tricky one. A few people have kicked it off with like Mona Lisa, I Am Sam, The Hours of Times, but we could try Almost Famous, The Bee Movie, Bumblebee, Blue Beetle, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Jojo Rabbit, Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels. We've got a few options to choose from, but it is a tricky week. But have a look at my shortlist. My shortlist is very short this week so far, with Nail and I, Sucker Punch, Rain Man, Kubo and the Two Strings, Anna, All You Need Is Kill, The Sweetest Thing, Dreamers, Circle, and yeah. So we'll see how we go. I might add more to it, but otherwise, we'll see how we go. That's it for me this week. Tune in next week where we will be crunching the numbers of the new Scary Movie. How did it do compared to its other entries in the franchise, as well as Masters of the Universe? Will it flop or underperform or overperform? The Christophers I don't think is going to do much. It might sneak into the top 10 if it's lucky. But Scary Movie and Masters of the Universe are the two big ones this weekend that are going to go head to head with a little bit of a cannibalizing audience. I'm curious to see which one comes out on top. Scary Movie isn't my forecast prediction for the top summer blockbusters, so I'm hoping it outperforms Masters of the Universe, but I do hope to hear good things about Masters of the Universe, and then I may catch it myself. Otherwise, apart from that, that's it. Have a good one. Watch more movies. Bye.